ago that I want to go into a little bit more, which is that Russia's been saying they view this as a terrorist attack. And words matter to the Russians, and sometimes I think they get lost on the Western audiences. For example, there's always been this kind of eye rolling that why the Russians call this a special military operation as opposed to a war, because to us it doesn't make any difference, but maybe to them it does. Well, I want you to first of all listen to what Putin says about how he views this incursion into Kursk, and then we'll talk about it on the backside. Watch this.
Our enemy is different, not like us, although they are human in their appearance, but we know very well that some people outside Russia not only tried to justify what the terrorists had done, but they even provided them with assistance, informational, military and informational. When I'm talking about the moral side of the question, these people have no morality.
Now, he chose to make those comments and some others similar in a separate interview in Beslan, which I think was on the 20th anniversary of a huge terrorist attack that killed a bunch of school kids a long time ago. And that wasn't just by coincidence, I'm sure, that he decided. What does it mean when you hear Russia say that this is a terrorist strike as opposed to a military attack into Russia?
Because it was an attack on civilians. There was no military target there. It's not like there was a military base with, say, a battalion, a regiment, or even a brigade. No, none of that. There were not entrenched defensive positions. It was basically a border region that, where you'd have the normal controls. But what happened here is the Ukrainians attacked, and they were taking civilians hostages. And so that's why the Russians are calling this, quote, a terrorist operation. Despite accusations over the last 2.5 years that the Russians are terrorizing Ukrainian civilians, it's a provable lie, because you would otherwise see the airwaves and the internet flooded with videos of the Russians abusing the civilians. Instead, what you have are video after video of Ukrainians, of officers beating unwilling conscripts and forcing them into vehicles. If you remember, early in the first 6 months of the war, they would grab somebody who was considered either pro-Russian or who was considered not willing to join, and they would tape them, physically tape them with transparent tape that strip them naked and tape them to a light pole. So, like I'm saying, this stuff shows up on social media. That we live, at least despite the attempts of legacy media to control and hide information, the beauty of the internet still is there is social media. You cannot quash this stuff. And so what we're not seeing are the attacks by the Russians where they're killing lots of Ukrainian civilians. Not the case. That may change now. But what has happened is the Ukrainians committed this terrorist assault just in the same way that back in, what was that, September 2003? It was like the first or second day of school in Beslan.
Yeah.
And these Chechen extremists, they were Muslims, but they had external support. And the question is, was the West helping fund it? They went in and they ended up killing 600 hostages, a lot of them children.
Yeah.
And it was a massive counterterrorism response by them. But again, the Russians didn't curl up into a fetal position and start crying. They took care of business. It took them from there another 6 years to defeat the Chechen insurgency. And now today, you have Chechen battalions standing at the lead of the Russian army, like Abdi Aludinov.
Yeah. And one of the other things that's interesting is, so if